Alright, so that's a middle school problem. Now let's go into what Algebra 1 and Algebra 2 show us. X over x squared minus 4 minus 1 over x plus 2. Alright, first and foremost, factor. Okay, first and foremost, factor. But this time, because you see a minus sign, because you see this, factor the bottom only. Now that's a big change. 2 days ago, yesterday, I said factor everything. Top, bottom, top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. Factor everything. But with a plus or a minus sign, you only factor the bottom. You don't worry about the tops anymore. So a little wrinkle that is going to kind of mess some of us up. So bottom left, x squared minus 4. Can be factored. Fortunately, that's a pretty straightforward one. X plus 2, x minus 2. Bottom right, x plus 2 can't be factored. It's already like as much as it possibly can be done. But the reason why we want to factor the bottom only is because factoring the bottom makes us see what the common denominator is going to be. What do both bottoms have in common? They both have an x plus 2. Both bottoms have an x plus 2. But it looks like the left bottom also has an x minus 2. That means the right bottom needs an x minus 2. It's missing. So I'm going to go over here and say they both should have an x minus 2. One of them doesn't have it yet, but we're going to force it to have it later. It's kind of like up above. Remember when we found the common denominator and we said we needed to multiply the first one by 2? It was kind of missing the 2 to make it a 4. So that's what we're in a sense going to force this one to do down here. We're going to eventually multiply it in so it can now be in common. Alright, so there's all the factoring. Let's go ahead and rewrite the original problem. X over x plus 2, x minus 2, minus 1 over x plus 2. And like I said, the common denominator is this, right here. X plus 2, x minus 2. This one has both of them. X plus 2, x minus 2. This one only has the x plus 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go like this. X minus 2, top and bottom. That's like earlier in the middle school problem when we multiplied top and bottom by the 2. It just doesn't look that way, but it actually is the same thing. Everybody okay with that? So far, so good? Now what? Well, now, clean up, simplify both tops. What does that mean? Well, do I need to clean up or simplify the top left? It's an x. Does that need to be cleaned up? Not really. X over clean up the top right. Now, because of the new x minus 2, what did we just create here? We just created something that needed to be distributed. Just based on how it looked. If I give that to a pre-algebra student or a middle school student, they'll say distribute, right? So we, to make all this happen, just created a distribute problem for ourselves. So what is 1 times x? X. What is 1 times negative 2? Negative 2. Watch what I write. I am going to write minus x plus 2. And you might be sitting there thinking, isn't 1 times x, x? Why is it now minus x? Isn't 1 times negative 2, negative 2? Why is it now positive 2? Because you have to remember that there's a subtraction sign here. So when you go 1 times x and you get x, you're really supposed to go minus whatever that became. So that minus this created that. When you do 1 times negative 2, you get negative 2. But what happens when you minus a negative 2? It creates one of those big fat plus signs. And then we have our common denominator, x plus 2, x minus 2 under it. That's the tough part about this. That's the hard section. Factoring right here, finding the common denominator, most students have no problem with that with some practice. I see a lot of errors in this because not only do you have to worry about distributing, but you have to remember to change the sign because you're subtracting both of them. Okay, so that might feel kind of funky or get weird for a little bit. Then moving on. Clean up the top again. So now look at what the top is. X minus x plus 2. X minus x plus 2 just becomes 2 because the 2x's cross out. Over x plus 2, x minus 2. And you get to this location, you get partial credit, and you're wondering what you did wrong or what you missed. What have we been doing for the past 4 days during this unit since the beginning, but we haven't talked about yet today? Restrictions. So we still have restrictions to worry about. So if I look at this bottom, x cannot be what for this one? Negative 2. Negative 2 would be bad for this one. X cannot be what for this one? X cannot be positive 2. Now we have to go back to all of them. I got negative 2. I got positive 2. What about this one right here? Negative 2, positive 2. So that, fortunately for us, doesn't really change anything. Go back all the way up even more so. Negative 2, positive 2, negative 2, positive 2. I think we've got our restrictions. There's no other new ones up above anywhere. So we can definitively say, okay, no longer partial credit with my restrictions. I now have full credit.